Well, hello and welcome to Stories from the River. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Lauren is the Executive Director of Beds for Kids, and she is with us today to talk about Beds for Kids and our partnership with Broad River Retail. So welcome. I'm so glad to have you on the pod today. Manny has spoken very highly of you, and we're ready for a great episode.
Me too. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Just to start the conversation, tell me what you've been doing this summer. So what's going on in your world today?
Well, I just got back from vacation, so this was a perfectly timed episode.
Okay.
Last week I went to the beach with my kids. I have two boys that are 4 and 6, and so we got to relax and recharge and then get back to it this week.
Yeah, so where did you go? What beach were you at?
We were at Bald Head Island. It's right off the coast of Wilmington. So you take a ferry over, which my boys love, and then you get over there and it's all golf carts, no cars, and you really, truly get to disconnect, which I love.
Okay, so you're at the beach. Do you read a book or are you listening to music?
I wish I was doing either of those things. With a 4 and a 6-year-old, it's mommy play in the sand, mommy get in the ocean with me, mommy let's swim in the pool. So I don't really get to do too much of either of those things, but it's always read a book if I had to.
Yeah.
If I didn't have children that were taking up the time.
Right. So that's awesome. Great. Glad you had a great vacation. So, so Lauren, you're with Beds for Kids, Executive Director. How did you get here? So tell us about Lauren. Tell us about your journey and how you came to Beds for Kids.
Yeah. So I am from Eastern North Carolina, right outside of Raleigh, and I went to UNC Chapel Hill. And after graduation, I really wanted to live in New York. That's all I wanted. I was like, I'll get a job. It's fine. So I moved to New York. I was able to find a job at the Wall Street Journal and worked in their advertising sales group and loved it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a very fun adventure. And I loved New York, but I kept meeting people that were doing other things. Like they would be working for the American Heart Association or, like the Alzheimer's Association or even just any smaller nonprofit groups that are in the city. And I kept thinking, I really want to do something with a purpose and have that mission-minded outlook. But then I couldn't pay my rent because of that. So I knew that if I wanted to stay in New York, I needed to pay my bills. So the Wall Street Journal was gracious enough. They opened up a office in DC, and I worked with a lot of advocacy clients, which again was getting me a little bit closer to that mission-minded environment. And so we moved to DC, and we were there for 5.5 years. And then I had jumped over to the Atlantic magazine and started working in their events division. And so I was going all over the country, traveling, once, twice a month, and putting on events all over the country with a 50-person team. And I started realizing that, again, we love DC, but we wanted to start a family. And I kept feeling that pull. I needed to be doing something different. And I didn't know what that was. So we moved down to Charlotte in 2015. My husband took a job with Wells Fargo. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do down here. And so I had started planning some weddings and other corporate events on the side for friends. And all of my friends were like, you should start your own business. You're so type A, you're so organized, and you're so good at that. You should do it. And so I took that leap of faith. I was able to start my own business. And so I had my own events business in Charlotte. And then right before COVID, I'd had my second baby. And Saturdays were just such a premium and such a luxury. And so for me, events just didn't work with that schedule. And so I was transitioning out and I was selling off. I had done furniture on the side. Again, we're getting closer to Beds for Kids.
Right.
And so I had sold all my furniture to a rental company, and then COVID happened. And then all events stopped. So it was kind of this moment where I was very thankful that I had made that change when I did. And I was at the pediatrician's office with my son one day, and I saw this like pamphlet on the wall that was about Beds for Kids. And I was like, oh, well, I have kids, and I didn't know that there were that many kids out there that needed beds. But then it just clicked for me. I came home and I said, okay, I sat with my husband. I said, all right, I'm going to just start volunteering at a few different places and seeing where it takes me. I want to take this time to explore this side of my life because I just feel so pulled in that direction. And I went into Beds for Kids, and the team there was incredible. I mean, that team is so strong, and that mission is so powerful. And I just always joke that I'm the volunteer that never left. I started there, and then I just worked my way, and I was there on Tuesdays doing deliveries, and then I was there on Mondays helping with some office things, and it just snowballed, and now I run the organization, which is wild.
It's like, yeah. So we had this conversation earlier. It's how did you get here, right? And you look back, like becomes full circle, and now you feel like you have found your place, you found your purpose, and that's an awesome story. So thanks for sharing that. So let's also talk about our partnership that with Beds for Kids and Broad River Retail. So that's a fun one. I shared a story earlier on one of the other episodes that from day one I walked into Broad River, and Pets for Kids has always had a presence there. And it's like you said, you have kids. Well, we have furniture. There's a need, right? So there's a connection. And so tell us about Beds for Kids, the organization, and the why. What's the mission and the purpose for Beds for Kids?
Yeah. So our mission at Beds for Kids is to provide beds and essential furniture to children and their families in need. We were started in 2010. We have been partnering very closely with Ashley and Broad River since the beginning of our existence. And we started out of a group of concerned Charlotteans. It was a Bible study, and one of the gentlemen in the Bible study he had identified a family and went to go deliver a sofa. They had an extra sofa, and he knew they needed a sofa, so he went in to go measure for it. And he got to the house, and he realized that there was nothing else in the home. He said, "Okay, so where are your beds? Where's all your furniture?" And the mom said, "No, we don't have any of those things." And so he went back to his group, and he said, "Okay, guys, we've got to figure this out. We've got to, pull together the resources to furnish this home." And so they went ahead and did that. They saw these wonderful moments with the family afterwards. They saw how having furniture in their home just created this whole new dimension of who they were. And so then he said, "Okay, we've got to go out and we've got to figure out who's doing this in Charlotte." And so he went to the head of Charlotte Family Housing at the time and said, "Hey, who's doing this? Because we don't want to recreate the wheel. How can we be helpful?"
Sure.
And he said, "No one, really. I have a list of over 200 names that I could send you tomorrow of people that are in need of beds and furniture." And so that's how Beds for Kids was born. And it started out of someone's garage, which is how every good nonprofit starts, with small and humble beginnings, and then moved into a storage unit, then moved into a 9,000 square foot warehouse at our first location at South Tryon. And then now we are in a 17,000 square foot warehouse off of Revolution Park Drive, which is off Clanton Road. And so last year alone, we served 734 families. And then our first year, we served 282 beds. And last year, we did 2,100 beds.
Wow.
And we're on pace to do over 800 families this year.
That's incredible. The need continues to get bigger every year. And answering that call, just the ability and to have the ability to answer is just incredible. So, thank you for what you're doing in Charlotte. It does mean a lot, and especially to those families. And it means also a lot to the organizations that serve, because giving back is so important to so many people and the volunteering. So, Tell us a little bit about the volunteer program there. So how do you get folks in? Do they call you? Do they, is it through companies? Is it just personal phone calls? How do they get involved with volunteering?
We are very lucky. We do not have to call to ask for volunteers. Our volunteers are always raising their hands and reaching out to us. Last year alone, we had 3,000 volunteers come through our doors. Wow. One of those groups that is always there is Ashley. And so we're so thankful for y'all. But yeah, going this year alone, this week alone, we have 5 groups in. We'll have a couple of individuals. It's actually Elevation Church's Love Week this week, but it can be anything from a small corporate group to a mom and her daughter coming in and wanting to clean furniture to send out to families. So it really is one of those where it can range from an individual coming in to a large corporate group of 30 people. But we wouldn't exist if we didn't have our volunteers. Our volunteers are our lifeblood. They are the channel to becoming donors. They are the channel to us being able to do this transformational work in the community. We need them to go on deliveries with us. If we don't have them, we can't deliver to families because we are a very small staff. We only have 10 of us. Yeah, there's only 10 of us.
Remind me again, you had 2,100 beds, 2,100 and 10 people, plus all of your village of volunteers, right?
Yeah.
So that's how
we had our
done.
volunteer army. Yeah, we had to have that to get it done. But yeah, I mean, we are very lucky that we just have these volunteers that keep saying, "Oh, you've got to go to Beds for Kids. You got to get back there because it's a life-changing event." And for me, I mean, I started as a volunteer, so I feel that very deeply. And we have a couple people on our staff that started out that same way, very organically as volunteers. And then they just found this love for our organization and continued to grow in that. And then eventually we were able to find a path for them to be a part of our team. So.
Yeah. So, and one of those we have in common is Chloe Sales, who she is the daughter of one of our memory makers, Tim Sales, our director of facilities and construction. So we adore Chloe. She does such great work and has such a big heart. So
I would echo all those sentiments. Yeah. She's fantastic, and Tim and Christy his wife Christy are fantastic supporters of Beds for Kids and wonderful. They definitely have a servant heart, so we're very thankful for that family.
Yeah, so we are just incredibly honored and privileged to be able to, help serve Beds for Kids. So in our stores, for listeners that don't know about the Beds for Kids program and the connectivity to Ashley, Ashley has a charitable program. It's a Hope to Dream, and Hope to Dream, they believe that every kid deserves a good night's sleep and a bed to call their own. So there's the connection with Beds for Kids. $5 for every mattress sold goes to a Hope to Dream program, and Beds for Kids is the local organization that we serve here. We have other organizations across all the other regions, but certainly Beds for Kids has been the foundational piece for our charitable work with our memory makers. And it's just been incredible. Every month, I get the volunteer hour reports, and I see the people they have their teams. It used to be just a few people here, a few people there. And now, in the past couple of years, really, I would say since COVID, there's this intentionality of they take teams out now. It's not just, hey, we're going to have 2 people go out or 4 people go out. They're taking entire teams out to go volunteer now, which is so awesome to see and to hear the stories. Can you share a story? Let the listeners hear what does a delivery look like?
Yeah. I mean, I am very lucky that I get to go on a fair amount of deliveries. So there are a lot of really fantastic stories. But one that has been sitting in the back of my mind recently was a couple weeks ago. I went out and Moses, who's our warehouse manager, and I went on a delivery together with some volunteers and served a mom and a dad and a little boy. And we got into the apartment. It was completely empty. We put the bed together, his twin bed, and put the mattress on it. And the mom and I were standing there next to each other. And he took his shoes off and he got so excited. And he is the same age. I'd asked her how old he was. He was the same age as my youngest son. And he gets up on the bed and he starts jumping on the bed. And in my head, I'm looking at her and she's looking at me and we're both thinking oh my gosh, don't jump on that bed. And you're, you go into mom mode. Right. You're kind of we just put that together and you don't jump on that bed. But then you're thinking, this is his first bed. And that moment, I mean, she started she was getting teary-eyed. I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it.
Right.
But those are the powerful moments. They didn't have a bed.
Yes.
And now they have a bed, and in mom and dad's room, we were able to put together a bed for them so that they can get a good night's sleep. Because that is one of the things that I feel so passionately about is I don't know, have you slept on the floor recently or slept on an air mattress even?
No, we went RVing, but that's really not the same. And but still,
that's about as close as I would say.
That was It was glamping. Okay. So,
I mean, it just isn't.
It's not your bed. It is not your bed.
And then the next day, you're supposed to go, and these moms and dads are working hourly jobs, and these kids are in school, and they're supposed to be A+ students. That's impossible. It's impossible without furniture. Right. So I think in our minds, we think, oh, well, they have housing. And that's great. But the next piece of that, the next extension is that bed of their own, that sofa, that kitchen table and chairs to have that family meal together. Those are the memories you remember that stick with you. And then it's also, research shows like a good night's sleep, it makes everything different in your life.
For their health,
Yes.
for their education. It's paramount for a child to have their own mattress, their own bed, to sleep in. So let's also talk about when you have a delivery and you had the story of like, oh, where's the rest of your furniture? So you come back and you are identifying additional needs. And we actually had a delivery. I looked this up. It was this time last year, a team of our memory makers, a memory maker experience team went out for a delivery, and they had a need. Beds for Kids says, we need sheets, we need blankets, we need sheets. And so they came back to me. There's, hey, we want to do an internal drive. And I said, great, let's do it. And it was incredible how that, I will just say it blew up. There's no other word that it blew up. What we anticipated would be 30, 50 blankets. It turned out to be 430 blankets and sheets.
I knew it was a lot.
It was a lot.
No, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yes, and the Pineville store alone, it was over 100 for Beds for Kids. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I remember the day y'all dropped them off because we were like, oh, okay, do you guys need some help? And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to need some help. And we were like, oh, okay, they're just going to bring in like, 20, 30 sheets. Like, thank you so much. Like, that drive is wonderful, builds awareness for us. And then I get out there and I'm like, oh, this is no joke. This is like the real deal. This is enough sheets to last
we
us
don't have
a
to
few
do
months.
anything.
Like it was, that's Broad River and Ashley for us, like we talked about it. Like we had a huge bulk pickup last August at Johnson & Wales. And we were like, okay, so we may have underestimated how much furniture we need to be unloading here, and we only have a staff of 10. And so this entire group of Ashley, I think it was like your sales group that was from all over.
Yes.
And they came in and we were kind of like, guys, please don't hurt yourselves. Like they were like slinging mattress frame, like bed frames and putting them onto the trucks. And we were like, okay, this is what we needed. And it was like the energy and that generosity to just show up for us that propelled us forward, and I think made it easier for us to get that job done. And then over the holidays, you guys donated almost 600 mattresses to us that were brand new. And that, again, is huge for our organization because that means that we're able to provide for those families and that they're able to have what they need. And there's nothing better than that.
There's really nothing. And when the call is made, we also have depend on great partners like Tempur-Pedic and Bed Gear, and it is it never ceases to amaze me how one small request, how it's the ripple effect in the pond. You throw it in, there's the request, and it just grew, and they answered the call. So it was fun to watch. 430. Just in about a week or two, it was crazy.
It was honestly magical. We were like, wow, this is incredible. It's just that's huge for us.
Yeah.
Like we are always in need of sheets. So to get those is wonderful.
Yeah. So impact on the community. Obviously, we talked about what you're doing inside Charlotte, but that's kind of stretching now, right? So talk to me about the vision and the needs that are stretching outside of the Charlotte area.
Yeah. So I think everybody can agree that housing in Charlotte is expensive. Right. So these families are not able to afford that housing. And so they are Charlotteans, but they're having to move out into Union County, Gaston County, Cabarrus, Iredell, South Carolina. They're having to move out. And so we have to meet those families where they are. And so what we're trying to figure out is how do we best serve those families? And in the next 3 years, we would like to expand into at least those 10 counties that are kind of surrounding Charlotte and be able to serve them well. And we received a generous transformational donation in January that gave us the opportunity to lease a 35,000 square foot warehouse in Statesville that all we do is say yes to bulk pickups and bulk deliveries. So we are now working with other furniture companies, other colleges and universities, and if they have excess in their warehouse, things that, oh, hey, actually, we're not gonna use this. There is always excess. I don't want to call it waste, but there is a way for us to make this a sustainable model so that any of that furniture that could be going to the landfill or could be on its way somewhere else could come to us, and then it's in perfectly good condition. In most cases, it is still in the box. So when we get it, we pile it into that warehouse in a very organized, neat fashion, and then make sure that we've got enough stockpiled so that we can serve more families. And in addition to that, there are a lot of organizations across North Carolina that continually reach out to us and say, hey, like, we are in small town, like we are in like Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and we need 75 beds. And so for us, like even us just trying to be able to get beds to those communities so that they may not need 800, it's not 800 families that we're serving there, but if we can even just help them out a little bit, that's what I think the end goal would be, is that if we could be making an impact throughout North Carolina, that's my dream for Beds for Kids. It's not a Beds for Kids in every county, but it's the fact that we could potentially get it there, and be able to say to these other smaller furniture banks, these other small churches, these other small organizations, like, hey, like you're doing the good work and we got you, and we can provide that extra service that you may not be able to provide. So Statesville has been transformational for us. It is, and I keep saying that word, but it really has, because now we can say yes to every 53-foot truck that pulls up to that bay, and we can say, yes, sure, we've got a forklift up there and we can unload it, and then it's going out to families. So it's really
answering
powerful.
the call, and also I just see the passion, just having the conversation with you. It exudes the passion, and my money's on you. I'm just going to tell you,
I appreciate that.
My money is on Beds for Kids, serving more people. So I'm just going to say, thanks for, just sharing the story of how it started and more about how we're serving the Charlotte area and extended the vision for that. Right. So very glad to have you today. So before you go, we're going to have a rapid fire. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for some rapid fire? Yeah. You better get this. Okay. So we talked about your summer vacation.
All right.
Okay. So these are just rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
It's intense. All right. Are you going to sit by the pool or swim in the ocean?
I sit by the pool.
Sit by the pool. Okay. Would you rather eat s'mores or ice cream?
S'mores.
Really? Okay.
They're so good.
Yes.
And I like the process and like the fire aspect of it.
Yeah. Okay.
The ambiance.
Okay. Awesome. So going with the s'mores and would you rather have a bonfire or a fire or watch fireworks?
A bonfire. Yeah.
Okay. Kind of goes with that.
Yeah.
Flip-flops or slides? Oh, just be careful, because this is talking about fashion. So
I'm more of a slide. I like the Birkenstock slides, because flip-flops, I feel like you get into the sand, and if you hit like a wet piece of sand, like your flip-flop sticks into the sand, and that's really annoying. So I'm going to go slides.
Okay. All right. Roller coaster or water slide?
This one's tough. Pre-children, I would have said roller coasters. Now I get motion sickness at everything. So I'm going to say water slide.
Okay.
We'll go water slide.
That's fun. All right. So vacation transportation of choice. Now, this is going to depend upon your stage of life. Plane or a road trip? Ooh.
Yeah, definitely. The stage of life is a plane. I would prefer that, because I feel like I'm going to get there quicker. And with 2 young children, that works. That works for me.
All right. And lastly, summer reading list, summer movie list, or summer playlist. What do you got?
Summer reading list.
What's on your reading list?
I'm a big reader. Okay, so I finished Spare by the Harry Styles, or the Prince Harry.
Yes, Prince Harry. Yeah.
Yes, I almost said Harry Styles, because I love him too. He's on my summer playlist. But that was the last one I just read, and then before that, I have another book on meditation, because I'm trying to be more mindful and meditate. So those are the 2 that I've been reading, and they're really thick, so I haven't really gone through anything else yet.
Okay. Well, listen, Lauren, it has been such a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I know this is going to be a very much watched and listened to. You bring such great energy, and thank you for what you do for the community. Thanks for your partnership with Broad River. We adore your team. We adore our work that we have and our partnership with Beds for Kids. So thanks for joining the pod.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be asked to be a guest today. So, and thank you to Broad River and Ashley, because you guys you're one of the big reasons that we've had so much success. So we're very thankful for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.